Welcome to the Weabros Enemy Podcast. My name is Arch, and today I'm joined by Steven.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back.
Good to have you back, Steven. And we are actually going to be continuing on our journey through these new 2018 or summer 2018 animes. We just watched a bunch of second episodes. We watched
thirds.
1/3 episode, and we're gonna just give our thoughts about the animes that we're seeing, and just kind of like go over what we think is gonna be good and just some of our favorite parts. So we're gonna go ahead and kick this off here with Angels of Death,
which honestly is probably one of the more intriguing of the animes that we're currently watching.
Yeah, I have to agree. So let's go ahead and start off with the opening scene, because I know you had some thoughts on the opener.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you're going to flash back to something as, I guess, pivotal as Rachel Gardner, the protagonist, saying, "Kill me, please," the next song or the theme, opening music, I feel should be something more in the veins of like an American Horror Story or an X-Files, right? Where it's not necessarily a song, but it's just, or let me rephrase that. It's not any lyrically song with lyrics in it, right? It's all just soundtrack. It's all just like composition, because that weird pop rock song that served as the intro was so off-putting. I mean, she just said, "Kill me, please," and then it was like, and I was just like, what is happening? And it honestly put it as like a sour taste at the beginning of what was an otherwise really good episode.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I fully agree with that, but I do see where you're coming from with that, because Steven does watch a lot of TV shows, as do I, and
wow, throw me under the bus.
But as being someone who's watched a lot of animes, like it felt like it was an actual fitting for the type of theme that it had. But if we were to kind of mix both cultures, I feel like the one that you're talking about would be the much better choice. Like, as it would fit that dark, morbid, kind of mysterious theme more than an actual upbeat rock, J-rock music.
And I mean, take this into effect again, as those of you who've seen this before know, I'm not super versed in anime, so I imagine this is very commonplace for a lot of these programs. But I just thought, hey, look, coming from like a different background, I think it'd make more thematic sense to have it sound that way. But overall, like I said to you, the episode was great. I mean, I really, really like how they're kind of juxtaposing Zach and Rachel, because one, it was cool to learn his name and learn a little bit more about his backstory, but having her be so indifferent and trying so hard to get killed is really interesting. Yeah. She's not like this, like at the very beginning of the of the series, like last episode, she was sort of a damsel in distress, right? She was running away. Yeah. And I know, like I said, it was a little heavy-handed, the death of the white bird, but that really was the loss of her innocence. She stopped caring, and it was almost like the loss of her hope. Really, like something that we didn't really touch on, but
that's true.
Now she's just, I mean, she wants to die, and when they kept showing her face as she tried to smile, what Zach was saying was correct. Like she had death in her already. Like her eyes were dead. She didn't care.
Yeah.
And that's almost more tragic, than an actual morbid, like a physical death, because what is life when you already want to die, right?
That's true. And I mean, it takes the fun out of a killer. Clearly. I mean, as we learned with his backstory, he kind of almost didn't, kill that one damsel that he was with, or that one girl. But I'm sorry to cut you off. It humanized him a lot. I think that's true.
They made him like because now he's not just a bad person. Like something's actually wrong with him. I think a lot of times, and again, not that I'm defending killers, because I wouldn't do that, but like psychopaths are crazy. Like that's the whole point, right? And that he was given like, no, he only enjoys this because he likes seeing the terror in their eyes, which I guess in the sense of things makes him evil, but he's not killing for some like ulterior motive other than the fact that he's like insane and enjoys that weird, prey and predator thing. But I thought it was interesting. I thought even the backstory they touched on with him and how indifferent he was to the person he used to be. Also thought it was kind of funny that whoever wrote this anime thought that Zach is how we shortened Isaac. But
to each their own. Okay?
Yeah, I saw that and I was I had one of those faces they make on these animes. I was like, what? But I thought it was a great episode. I thought the ending was cool. I'm thinking at this point that person at the end, the gravedigger, is the one who was leaving those notes for Rachel and the one who created the grave for Rachel.
Had to be.
Right? I mean, fuck, that's...
Yeah.
It just makes sense because that flower that appeared at the very end.
Yeah.
I imagine she'll be... Or I keep saying she because that was the voice actress. But I imagine this person will be in the same way that the doctor was in the last episode, just someone that's monitoring the floors and will eventually, die.
Yeah.
I don't see this going past two main characters.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. What did you think about the dynamic between Zach and Rachel? Because I think it's really weird that...
Yeah, their dynamic is very interesting, man. They're literally complete opposites. She's very calm, cool-headed. She's really, thinking, like, with those puzzles, like trying to figure things out. While Zach's over here literally just going wild, destroying everything in sight, and actually having a great time while doing it. I think it's very interesting. I kind of like the dynamic that they have with each other just because of how opposite they are.
Yeah.
One's a killer and one wants to be killed, which is just very interesting. One thing I do want to point out, though, is last week we talked about the similarities that it had with Danganronpa.
Yes.
Remember? Mm-hmm. And in the very beginning of this episode, you see Zach actually vomit. And it was all colorful. It reminded me of Danganronpa, like how when they have blood scenes, it's all like bright pink instead of being
similar
red.
Animation.
Yeah, very, very similar.
It makes sense though. Someone's gonna come for me. I know I'm gonna get dragged for this, but I don't know what came first, whether it was like the game or the anime in Danganronpa. But maybe if it came from a game, it could be that's why, right? Because this anime is coming from a video game as well. So maybe it's just that style. I don't know. Also, though, I was saying going back to the dynamic between Isaac and Rachel, I think he views her as a challenge. I don't think, and I mean they're setting this up so that she doesn't die at the end. I feel like, but they're viewing it as or they're depicting this as he's like challenged by her, and it almost seems like he's afraid of her at times. Because,
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean she's very non-threatening towards him, but I think that's what scares him the most is that it's her indifference and her honestly her lack of wanting to live, and I think it's catching him completely off guard from what he's used to, especially because he met her as the girl who was, bright-eyed when he first saw her. She was trying to save that little bird, and now here we are.
Yep. Well, do have to say that this anime is really looking good.
It is. No sophomore slump here.
Yeah. With that being said, though, let's go ahead and move on to our next anime. So the next anime we're going to talk about here is one of Steven's favorites, and it's Hanebado.
Yeah, there's nothing more riveting to me than a badminton match, especially when it's animated. Because everyone loves animated badminton. Apparently.
So we actually wanted to catch up on this one because we were going to watch the second episode, but we noticed that there was the third episode that was out. So
lucky us.
We went ahead and just watched it anyways. And I had to say, out of the animes that we watched today, this is literally an anime that was putting me to sleep. Like I was having trouble watching this, and I mean we're all entitled to our opinions here. Because I mean, for everyone that does like Hanabou, I do apologize, but it just feels like it's not an anime for myself. I'm really a big sports anime guy, as I talked about before, but the pacing in this one just seems really, really slow.
Just for those of you out there, if you want to gauge like how interested Arch was in this anime, we take notes on every anime we watch, and let me tell you, the notes were riveting.
We're not gonna go over those notes, okay?
So I did actually. I wanted to give this one a shot. I thought maybe last week I was just being short with it. It was one of the final ones we saw. And like I said, I was adjusting into watching this much anime. But I want to be totally honest with you. This anime is so boring. There is just nothing to get excited about. The most exciting thing I will say was when the coach and Nagisa were going back and forth.
That was actually a good scene.
But I wouldn't even say it was a good scene. I would just say like that should be the minimum, right? Like there should be there was nothing interesting. I mean, like
I'd say up until that point, I was really falling asleep. But when the coach was, like putting Nagisa in her place, like really showing her and trying to, understand her better, I thought that was a really good strategy.
It was a good way to deconstruct what we think of Nagisa already. But again, it just felt like this could have all been addressed in the first episode and in a much more condensed manner. There are far too many shots that are irrelevant to the whole spectacle. Just like, for example, the title of the second episode is "Meat is the best after a workout" or something to that effect. And honestly, the scenes where they're eating meat are just so weird and unnecessary. Like nothing of value happened in any of those scenes. And it was just like, well, this is great. I mean, I'm glad that you guys love meat.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's one thing
I love meat too.
Okay.
But, nothing really.
To each their own, as we have been talking about.
And then even in the third episode, so I will say this: I think it's finally moving towards something. With us finding out like the backstory of Ayano, like with her mom leaving her and then having that other child, whether it's actually her kid or not, but basically raising another prodigy after Ayano failed against the Haruko. right? The competitor from
Yeah.
another high school. But even then, that's all I took away from the third episode, and that was 22 minutes of that.
Well, like I didn't like it at all up until that point. That's when I actually thought the show was actually interesting, just to find out like this was a type of a storyline that I don't think I would have expected to be in like an anime like this. To have the mom straight up walk out on her child just because she wasn't a good enough badminton player. And I mean, to be fair though, the match that was important to her, the one that she had lost, I mean, it really wasn't her fault. The other girl, the blonde hair chick, I didn't get her name. Yes, Haruka. Okay, so yes, her. So what she had done was actually pretty funny when she had captured Ayano and wrapped her up in blankets so that she wouldn't move and said, "Well, we're gonna play on an even field here. I'm sick. I'm getting you sick." Starts coughing all over her. I mean, sure, it was like a fair match, I guess, at that point, but
it was also so stupid. It was so stupid.
It was, but excuse me, it was like that type of comedy. It was really funny, but it got so dark after that. Like, how is your mom supposed to just walk out on you just because you aren't meeting up to her standards and you raise another prodigy? Like that's so sad.
Well, and the thing is, so I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for some of these like hero animes, right? Angels of Death, which are more, or at least seem, which seem a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, they're unrealistic. I mean, there's like magic and whatever. I can suspend my disbelief for that. But when you're gonna do an anime on badminton, which there's nothing magical about badminton, you have to be as realistic as possible, and that is just so unrealistic. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, it was.
And that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm trying to think of my last thoughts here. I think maybe we should try watching one more and see.
I mean, we'll try.
Like, I think with the ending of the third episode, it was definitely different. If the direction of this doesn't really pick up from this next episode, like there are so many summer titles that we could be watching right now. It's just, I think with the way the anime is going, like, if something doesn't really catch your attention to begin with, like, you can just literally be spending your time watching something else.
Yeah, this is the prime TV age, right? Like, series are popping up left and right. I'm not trying to watch badminton.
Yeah, so speaking of which, I know how much of a fan you are with sports animes. We're going to go ahead and move into our next topic here.
So the next, because we just wanted to pile all the best ones together, the next thing we watched was Haruko Receive. And look, I had been
gorgeous anime,
I had been very
by the way.
Critical of this one last week for fetishizing, the female figure. And I'm happy to report that they continue to do that. And there's nothing better than, just us for 5 minutes looking at Haruka's butt and having Kanata just stare at it, and then having, Ayasa comment on it and slap her ass.
To be fair, this is the closest she's been to a butt before.
Anyways.
That was the quote. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so it was just like, this is, I guess, great, and then when she was like topless in front of Kanata, and Kanata was clearly uncomfortable, like, it was just... It was super fan service. There was a lot of fan service.
It was like, there was
at some point I'm like, okay, like, either show us or don't.
But despite it all, like, I'd say in comparison to Hanebado though, like, I actually was more interested in this.
Yeah, it is more interesting
than Hanebado in those two episodes.
And not because of, just so we're clear, not because of the fetishization. No. But just it was more interesting because the storyline finally picked up. I don't know. I'm still not really invested in this one either, but I'm thinking it's one of those like relativity things, right? Like, I disliked Hanebado so much that Haruko just seemed better. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because the final scene when they were playing volleyball wasn't that uninteresting. Like, I was kind of invested in Haruka and Kanata winning.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool.
So it's cool. I do want to see kind of what is going to happen. And what's weird though is, again, like, I think in this one with Kanata, she has like this history with Narumi, exactly, and because of that. It's just kind of flashing back to the same history on the other one, in Hanebado, where Elena, was kind of filling in as like the mom figure, right? And it's just like for Ayano anyway. So there's some parallels. I just think that Haruka Receives is significantly better.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, and not just that. I mean, I like the colors in it, as we were talking about. Remember, I was trying to point out the colors to you as we were watching through different scenes. Yeah,
nothing says you're interested in anime like pointing out the colors.
I mean, the color scheme of it's really nice. And I have to say that for just volleyball anime as well, it's actually, as I said in the first our our first talk about it is that it's actually very educational. It taught you how to do a bump.
He pointed it out numerous times.
Yeah, taught you how to bump, taught you about setting, and taught you about spiking. The three main components of it. And I really like the synergy that the girls had. And, even with Narumi, like, picking on Haruka and switching it up to Kanata being the one to receive because, she had that history and it just threw Narumi off completely. I thought that was very awesome. And her reasoning, behind it, by not doing the set for that second move and just spiking it is because, well, she never had any practice.
Oh, that's right.
It really lived up to her own character, and that's what I liked about that. It was a great dump. That's what I have to say. Yeah. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move to our next topic. The next anime we're going to talk about is Cells at Work. This is the second episode. I actually thought this one was actually pretty interesting. I mean, compared to what we had just watched, like this one actually did bring more excitement to the table. I do like how they included an entirely new cast of villains with the new situation that had happened with them. I'd say like the artwork on the villains itself, like the character designs, make them really feel like they're bacteria, like the way that they're designed that way. And I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the germs are drawn like stereotypical villains or even monsters.
Yeah.
With that said, this was also boring. It was less interesting than last week. Last week, I think maybe because the scope got too large. Like whereas last week we focused primarily on the red blood cell and the white blood cell. In this particular one, it got too big. Look, I thought the platelets were cute last week, but this week I'm like, okay.
There was a lot of cuteness going on, but I'm just not really all about that, but I can see why people would like it.
It was like to the detriment of the anime. And also, look, I think it's a good idea to, introduce these different topics, whether it's about biology, right, to maybe an unknowing audience. But at some point, I just don't want to read that much, And they were like, as they were describing each different bacteria and the different illnesses or diseases that come associated with that, I was like, that was like 4 or 5 minutes. If you like totaled it all together, and I was like, this is so pointless.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about educational parts of animes, and this one is really dedicated educational, but it's also because it's more geared towards the comedy of it. So they really focus on you getting the jokes and getting why it is done like this.
Because I thought I had the same thought as you, and I was like following through that process, but none of it was funny. Like I'm just, and the thing is, I don't think, and that's not a disrespect to the creators. I just don't think it was meant to be funny. I mean, like as I play that back in my head, I don't know what part of that was like at the end when they're all stuck together to form a scab. Which also aren't scabs scraped off, so wouldn't they be taken out anyways? I don't know.
They probably should be, but
is it an internal scab? Does that happen? I don't know. I'm uneducated.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I thought that last part was pretty funny. Like out of everything that had happened in that entire episode, like we needed something that actually really stuck out.
Yeah, because it was a bunch of.
I gotta say, with our red blood cell though, like she really had no role for being like a main character. She didn't really do anything this episode.
What? This brings me to my main point. I actually forgot to write this down, but this is a huge thing for me. So
okay.
Look.
Let's hear it.
I was willing to give this anime another episode. This is nothing about the quality of it, like it being interesting.
Yeah.
But last episode we saw red blood cells that were men and women. Okay. And I thought, great. So the white blood cells, right? Though, because red blood cells are being depicted as basically the weaklings. The white blood cells, who are these fighters, I only saw men, but I'm like, you know what?
Never mind.
It's fine. We'll get some chicks in here who can defend the body, right? We have yet to see a female white blood cell, and the only mention of like defenders that are female was when the main like germ, I don't even know what her name was, when she was like, oh yeah, your backup is always late anyways, and they show like the myclode or something, but that's kind of irritating, right? Like if you're gonna have different genders being red blood cells, you should probably do that with the white blood cells as well. Like what image are you depicting, right? If you wanted to segregate them, fine. I still wouldn't have been happy with that, but at least segregate them to where the women are the red blood cells and the men are the white. Because at least I feel like it'd be less offensive than being like, oh yeah, men and women can be red, but only men can be white because only they can defend us because only men are strong. Like,
well, you gotta remember that
the implication really isn't great.
I mean, they're not the strong ones though. Remember, like they're just the first line of defense.
But as I'm saying though, okay, so but they even say like the whole point is this red blood cell is constantly saying, I'm so useless, I can't do anything. Like okay,
I mean,
like,
they really can't do anything.
Well, and and I understand that, but then we should not homogenize what the white blood cells look like, right? There should be, a woman.
There is on a higher level, like higher than than the first line of defense. You know, so I mean, like it still kind of goes with that. Like
the implication's not great, is what I'm saying, and I think that they should really have addressed that. And maybe they will. Maybe I'm just like I said. I only gave 2 episodes, but I thought it was a really weird distinction because there was numerous male like red blood cells this time.
Yeah,
and I would prefer at this point I would have preferred the entire segregation of the two. The two genders.
Yeah, and that's okay. Honestly, I thought you were going in a completely different direction than that. Let me go ahead and continue where I thought you were trying to go with that. Right. Is that we're talking about blood, and I was like, she had blood on her hand on the last episode. She had gotten cut. There was no follow up to it, and it was kind of disappointing to see that there was nothing to it. I was like, there had to be something.
Well, and this okay. So this happens sometimes, and again, since it's already out there, I watch a lot of TV. So a common thing that happens is, and I hate when writers do this, but they'll throw like a little like a potential source of tension in at the beginning of a season or the beginning of an episode or the beginning of a series, only to revisit it when they run out of ideas. And it is the most lazy storytelling thing ever, because it's like you can't just like open up a bunch of avenues and then never really address it, you know? So this is only the second episode. There's still a chance, right?
Yeah.
If we go 5 or 6 episodes with no mention of it, and then all of a sudden, they just like, oh look, 7 episodes later, she's suddenly a germ. That's gonna irritate me. So I'm hoping that they'll mention maybe next episode, like she starts feeling sick or something. But until then, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But I agree with you. It is weird.
If they don't mention it in the 3rd episode, I don't know. I don't know if I can keep up with it. I mean, I do like the animation in it. I think it's very smooth. I do like the fighting scenes in it, particularly. Can't find my words here. I just think it's really good, especially with the contrast of the colors. I mean, I'm a big colors guy, apparently, as you can tell. I think it's really cool.
His favorite go-to when something's boring is, wow, it's beautiful.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting anime. It's a really different type of story that you don't really get to see. I mean, this is Osmosis Jones, really,
which also was not a good movie.
Okay, well, we're not talking about that. Anyways, I think just to sum this up, I do want to give this one another chance because I still think there is a lot of potential for this anime. Mm-hmm. And just this episode particularly, I do have to agree with you that it just really did not wow me. Yeah. It just overall didn't wow me.
And I'm so sorry, just to revisit what you were saying earlier. I mean, and I'm still thinking about this. She could literally just shake her hand and be like, ow, and then we'd know, like, oh, no, that's not going away.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Like, it can be as simple as that, or her continuing to bleed and someone commenting, like, wow, you're still bleeding, Just anything.
There
Throw
was
us a bone,
no setup.
But yeah, that's, we'll see what happens next week.
Okay, well, with that being said, you ready to move on to the next one?
So our final anime today will be my personal favorite, and I think based off of the feedback we've been, talking about, your favorite as well.
It actually is.
Yeah, Asobi Asobase, just super funny.
Yeah.
And I touched on this last week, but the strength of this anime in particular is not just isn't its storyline actually, because I'm not sure what the story is. It's mostly just the voice acting, the animation, and in this case, in this particular episode, it was Hanako. I mean, she's so funny, and it's because of the way she's the most loud, the most aggressive, the most, I mean, honestly, obnoxious. But it plays so well into the storyline.
Yeah, she really took over this episode, I want to say.
Yeah,
Olivia was from the last episode, and now it's Hanako. Yeah. So,
and it's funny. I was just saying this earlier, but I wonder if Kasumi is going to continue playing second fiddle to both Hanako and Olivia, because even here she doesn't necessarily have much to say, right?
No.
She just plays off of them, but it's what makes Kasumi funny.
Yeah.
Whereas Olivia and Hanako are their own standalone personalities that work as funny people.
Yeah.
Kasumi, even when first introduced in the last episode, really isn't funny, but the situations that she gets herself into are funny. But this anime is just straight up sitcom. And the scene where they compare English test scores was
that was
my favorite scene.
So
when
good.
Kasumi's like, I got 20%. And she asks the other two girls, and Hanako's like, yeah, a couple simple mistakes, and I got a 92. And then Olivia, just like not missing a beat. It was just, I'm telling you, really good voice acting. Yeah. Honestly, it's just like, yeah, a couple mistakes, and I got 25%. And the animation that goes with that, it was really funny, and it played into the humor really well. It's not, like I mentioned last week, it's crude. It's not like a beautiful anime at all. But
and even when they like got into what's it called, the serious mode of it, where Olivia was like, would you still be my friend even if I didn't know English? She was like, yeah, I would be. And even when they had that group,
and that was a bold choice to do.
It really was, because like
so early into the series,
it really got super serious. And I was like, oh god, I was like, what's going on here? But I mean, I did like that. But then Hanako, as you know, they're doing that group hug. You know, you get flashbacks of her getting slapped over and
Basically
over
the abuse she's taking.
and over.
Well, and the thing is, it's a bold choice. What they did was bold because we've only had one episode now, right, to really see these girls as friends.
Yeah.
So we have in our minds, right, not that much time has passed. So for someone to say, "Hey, would you still be my friend?" even though I lied to you and our friendship of 2 weeks or whatever is based on a lie, I feel like most people, in this instance, would be like, "Well, no, no, the whole reason we're friends is so you can teach me English." So I think that it was bold of them to do it, and I think because of the way Hanako reacted, and like I said, flashing back to the whole slaps and everything, is what made it believable. Because it probably isn't realistic that she would stay friends with her, but in the context of their specific friendships, it does make sense, right? And yeah, I really liked it. I do have one concern, and I shared this with you earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
Well, I think that's the thing about this one. There's like no actual real storyline. I feel like it's just going to be episodes upon episodes of just randomness. But I feel like it's kind of like Adventure Time in the early days. Like you kind of have to have an understanding of the earlier episodes to kind of get some of the references later. But I don't think it's going to be like one big storyline, up until.
So I hear that. But I think that's so. For those of you who watched Adventure Time, a big criticism that it drew from the beginning, although it was widely praised, was that like it was very much in this case in the like magical and whatnot, and there was no overarching story. Eventually, there will have to be some kind of overarching story. Otherwise, it really does turn into a sitcom. It'll be like the equivalent of like Blackish on TV or like a Disney Channel show where there's like it's just episodic. The storylines don't really extend, and people do eventually tire of it. It's why sitcoms don't run for like long periods of time because you can only do that for so long, right? Like even shows like Friends, these like long running sitcoms, eventually have these longer storylines between the characters. So, and again, it's early. It's just something I noticed because I don't want to get tired of this. I really like this one. I was telling Arch all week I wanted to just come back and watch Sob Sob Boss. The second the episode came out, I texted him. I was like, dude, I need to see that one. And I only held off because we've been trying to watch these together. But yeah, it's definitely my favorite, and I hope it retains its quality. I was scared. Going into it, I was nervous. Especially when they got into that like whole "Are you still gonna be my friend?"
Yeah, it was like super really, like I was super cringy for me. I'm just like, oh god, are they really like hitting us with this like so soon?
But and so that's what I'm saying. Like they're playing to their strengths right now. They did the really good bait and switch. I just hope they're able to maintain it because I would hate. I'm already setting myself for disappointment, which is wrong. I should give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. But I am a little nervous and. I was reading a little bit about the anime itself. I guess it's based on a manga. I'm sure a lot of you know more than I do. I'm still trying to figure out if there are women involved because this just feels like. I mean, I don't know that like as a man, I don't like to write these storylines as funny because obviously it's not a lived experience. It's not something that I've lived. It's not something Arch has lived. So I'm curious. I want to know. Because it's gold.
And one thing I did want to talk about was we're talking about scenes because you said that was one of your favorites. One of my favorites actually is when they're putting when they're doing the makeup on Hanako.
Oh my god, I forgot.
That was so good. When the way that Olivia had done the makeup made it look like she had got punched in the eye. Yeah. You're like, oh, you look. She's like, oh my god, I look so great. And then in Olivia's mind, it's like it looks like she just got punched in the eye.
Yeah. Well, and then, I'm curious. They're really making Olivia to be like this, like the dumb American.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, she's living up to like being a blonde. Yeah, really living up. But you know what? I don't mind it, to be honest. I think it's just so funny.
It is. Well, and the thing is, like, I guess because it's not done in that way where it's like, oh god, a lot of times when you hear like, or when they depict like the dumb blondes in TV shows. It's kind of like annoying because you're like, oh god, come on, get this. And Olivia's endearing in a way that I think other characters that are made up to be like her aren't endearing. Like there's a lot of TV shows with like a dumb character, and it's really hard to make someone that's like dumb endearing. But she, you want to root for her. Like I want her to do well. I want her to remain in this because she's just so.
I mean, she's kind of smart too at the same time. Like with her professors, like she's
manipulative, but I think that's a whole.
She plays off like on that English Japanese accent. As you can hear it, like okay.
Yeah.
I think she's really cool. Other than that, I think this anime is really looking up. Again, we don't really know too much yet. When the third episode comes out, I think that's going to give us a sense of direction on where it's going to go. Just because the first two we kind of like we know about one character, another character, and if we can figure out this third. One thing we actually didn't get to talk about yet is the principal. The principal in this scene was really great. Or not principal. I lied. The president.
There you go.
The president was a great addition, I think. Like when she had beat the two girls in the thing, and she's like, "All right, it's my turn," and then and
she was like, "I'm too uncomfortable to tell them that they already lost."
Like there's so much realness with her. Like
very, very funny.
That was great.
And the thing is, again, this is the strength of the anime, but introducing foreign characters so early and having them play off as well as they have is honestly like super impressive. I mean, the class president is not an interesting character on her own.
No.
But like when they first introduced her, when they did the whole speech, I did not think it was funny.
Yeah, she was kind of boring.
You know, even the part where they talk about like how she was convinced or how her vice president convinced everyone, where it was like threatening. It was like a dumb joke, you know, but it wasn't really.
I found
that
that really funny though. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean,
I thought it was like really dark, like not dark humor, but I mean it was so dumb that it was funny.
Yeah,
you know?
I was just waiting for the three girls to come back in. So when they start interacting though, it's like I'm telling you, the dynamic they've created with those three characters, Olivia, Kasumi, and the last one, they play off anyone really well, and any character that's now going to be involved with them is going to be involved in their antics. I agree with you though. I do think the class president ended up being a lot more funny, and I thought actually like, oh, they're going to introduce her to have her join the circle or the club, whatever they're doing. And I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I want this. If this show doesn't have an overarching story, I at least want them to have different subsects, like you said, of Adventure Time, where they can visit, right? Like a bunch of recurring characters they can constantly go and create storylines with, because that's going to give the show longevity and give them different scenarios and different things to do, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like we didn't see anything about the principal like this entire episode.
We didn't,
which was great. I'm hoping we meet some more new.
Me too.
For the next episode.
Me too.
But yeah, got to say that this is the one that we're really both looking forward to this summer. It's not Hanabou, but I mean it's really good. And so with that, guys, being said, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up over here. If you have any final thoughts on any of the animes that you would like to say. Yeah, I just Hanebado, this is your last chance. Please get good. You on the chopping block, Hanebado. Yeah. And honestly, it's not a disrespect to any of the writers or anything. I'm sure you're lovely people. Just not everyone's meant to write animes. Okay. So we're not doing this. So here's where we are. We'll have to see. I mean, the way that they left off the third episode may give it some hope. We'll see. But if really nothing that happens on this next episode kind of just sells at work, I feel like this is gonna be it. Yeah. And we're gonna have to jump on some other ones. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll find something. Yeah. We had so many good suggestions. So. Yeah. So. Also, did you want to tell everyone? Yes, that's right. So for those of you watching, I'm sure you'll see it, but for those listening, we're currently both wearing superhero shirts. I'm wearing Thor, and Arch is wearing Superman, which is ironic. And the reason we're doing that is because it's San Diego. Oh God. It's because it is currently San Diego Comic-Con. So after this, we'll be heading down to the downtown area, which is where most of the convention takes place. Yeah. And super excited about that. And since he's wearing a Thor shirt, we're probably going to go get hammered. Okay. With that being said, hopefully we get to run into some voice actors. I know the creator of My Hero Academia is going to be there. Oh, nice. So, I mean, if we run into him, it's... I don't know who that is. Okay. We're going to go ahead and just go ahead. Yeah. End it here. Yes. We're going to go check out Comic-Con. Guys, thank you for all tuning in. Please. Yes, please like and subscribe. If you are watching, please like us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on any of the platforms like Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, please follow our podcast. Please. It won't even be just me or Arch on here. There's a lot of us. A lot of different people, a lot of different hosts, and a lot of different types of podcasts that we're doing. So we're the Weabros. There's a lot of bros out here. There's a ton of us. So, none of those guys, man. Okay. Yeah, so just make sure you subscribe, and I think we're just going to go ahead and sign off out here, guys. Thank you all for watching. See you again next week.